So yeah, some back and forth.
Some back and forth banter between you and I,
a little
right,
debate.
today? Debate.
You know, we're going to have well, I know we at least have a mystery question, right, that I haven't been told yet, that I'm going to have to try to correctly
Well, I never tell
answer.
you the questions. You just happen, most of the time, know the answer anyway, because I've been
Yes.
keeping them easy, but today's not going to be easy.
Today's
not at all.
a tough one.
Yeah,
Today you're actually trying to stump me
absolutely.
with the question.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
We'll see what happens. We'll try to.
We're almost ready here, right?
Yeah, we're going to be
Getting
ready
there to the magical...
any minute here. So join us. Make sure you share. Go ahead and, as we enter, if Xavier asks the question and you think you know the answer, you can try to beat me to it. And go for it.
That's right. I'll give him a few minutes.
Hey, that
A few seconds.
brownie
Minutes is
points
too
with
long.
Xavier.
Minutes is just too long in the radio. If you say a few minutes like silence, that seems like forever.
Oh,
right?
yeah, we won't be able to do minutes. You have a
Yeah.
couple. But you can always, you can feel free to put in the comments, I think that Xavier is wrong. That will not be frowned upon.
But wait a minute. Why didn't you just say, I think Xavier is right? Why didn't you say that instead?
It's more fun to say,
Oh,
I think
okay.
that Xavier is wrong.
I just don't like... Yes,
We're ready.
We're all ready.
Let's do this. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier. We're really happy to have you join us this morning. We're going to have a great show. As always, we're presented by Emergent Financial Services. We are powered by Cristel Noel State Farm Agency, and we are partnering with Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville. And as always, we are on the I Love Seville network. So thanks so much for joining us. We're going to be joined later in the show by Stephanie Colon. She is the customer service representative at Cristel Noel State Farm Agency. We're going to talk being a Latina professional. We're going to talk opportunities at the agency, what's going on there, what's new, what the experience is working in the professional services as a Latina, like we talked with Cristel. We were going to be joined by Brazos Tacos. There was a little bit of a scheduling snafu, so they will join us soon, we hope. So we'll definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. And so, as always, you know, we're going to transition here. I know we always have a finance topic for you guys at the beginning. And Xavier apparently has been softballing me the questions
Absolutely.
for the last
I
few
have
weeks
been, and you
on
know
the
that.
show. And so I discovered this morning that he has an actual difficult question for me
I
today.
didn't say it was difficult. I just said it's something you're going to have to think about a little
I'm
bit.
gonna have to do a little
If
contemplation.
nothing for you, I know nothing is difficult.
Oh, well, I'm flattered. I'm flattered. See, now you get me worried. Now you get me nervous. I'm like, what's the trick question here? So go for it, Xavier. What are we talking about?
So
today?
here's a question, and you know we've been talking about inflation and the fact that inflation's here, how it's going to impact everything. So here's a question for you: what do Americans spend more on? What do Americans spend more on? I mean, they get their paycheck. What do they spend more on?
At most, what do they spend out of all the things that they can do?
Yeah.
See, the problem with this is I know what my go-to answers are.
Then
But
go,
I also know
then go.
that you know what my
Yes.
go-to answers will probably be,
That
which
is
means
true.
if this is a trick question,
But it's not really a trick question. It's just something you have to think about a little bit
I have
more.
to think a little
You
more.
know?
See, knowing you, so my go-to would be something like rent or groceries, but knowing you, I'm going to go,
Think about it. Think about it. I mean,
Yeah, give me a second.
it's something
Let
that.
me
Yeah,
and feel free to comment. If you think you know the answer, you can beat me to this answer.
I can give you a hint.
Go ahead and post a comment. You know, make sure you share with your friends so that if you have a clever finance friend, they can try to stump Xavier right back on this. Oh, let's see. I think I'm going to go with, knowing you, I think I'm going to go with something like taxes or inflation or something like that.
So I knew you'd get that. I knew you'd get
It's
that
the taxes?
somehow. Taxes,
Oh, yes.
absolutely. You think about it. I mean, everybody's paycheck, right? The biggest thing they spend is on taxes, right? And now, not to say that taxes aren't important, right?
Well, they're how everything runs.
It's as everything runs, exactly. And if you think about it, if you take a look at your taxes, I think it's about 24% or plus or minus, of course.
So you're
I don't
talking
know.
by the time you paid income tax and then sales tax, everything else. In other words,
Absolutely.
like all possible conceivable taxes combined.
Well, no, I mean, and here I'm thinking more just kind of the payroll tax, right? The amount you pay when you get your paycheck. After that, it's what you want to spend it on, right?
Yep.
But before
Payroll
you even
and
get
income
it, you only get a piece of it, and that piece goes to taxes. And as I said, so about 24% goes in Social Security. So you say, okay, that's for my retirement. Whether it's going to be there when you particularly retire, young people, my suspicion is yes, right? There's, I guess, 20 plus or minus a few percent goes into Medicare also, which is interesting because even when you get Medicaid, you still got to pay for it. So I'm not sure how that works. But anyway, I'm not going to go there anyway.
You just found that out last year. You
exactly.
hit the Medicare age.
Well, actually, I knew that. However,
you already
because
knew?
Because we work in the field. So
That's
in
true.
helping
We
people,
do,
I knew that. But
it's amazing how many people will come to us at
amazing how
Medicare
many
age
people,
like. Xavier, Alex, I'm ready for my free
Medicare. Exactly.
I've been paying into it, and we're like,
Part A is free, but Part B
it's not free.
Yeah, it's not free. You have to pay it. So that's just the way it works. But the reason I raise taxes, and another reason I raise taxes, is because when you think about 7% of what the government takes goes to pay off their debt, interest on their debt, right? And I know we've talked about inflation, we talked about interest rates.
Well, and the huge amount of debt we're issuing right now just to try to keep the economy afloat.
$2 trillion, and there's another $3 trillion coming down the pipeline, which is going to be infrastructure and who knows what else, right? So we're talking about $5 trillion probably this year or a little bit this year or next year. Where's the money coming from? Well, we're going to have to borrow it, right?
Yep.
So the big question has always been, how is that going to impact the U.S.? And that I've made a big deal about the fact that even though this is probably the only central bank, the Federal Reserve is the only central bank that's independent, right? You can't tell me that at this point Yellen and Powell aren't going to have a little conversation on a weekly basis or monthly basis. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they have to because you look at
especially in this environment, if you're issuing this much debt, the Treasury Secretary, which is Yellen, and the Fed Chairman, which is Powell, they have to be communicating with each other.
And they have to, and they're going to, and it's going to be extremely important because if you take 7% of what comes in and pay off interest, and you allow interest rates to go up, and that turns into 14%,
You're really
something's got to
hampering the
give.
government.
Right? I mean, the government says, well, I have to pay the debt. They can't go bankrupt. So, so all the other services that they provide, they have to go down, right? So you look around the world and you see that all the other countries in the world, not to pick on any particular countries, but Italy, Germany, Japan, UK, where would you rather put your money? Into the largest, biggest economy in the world, with the biggest bond market in the world, with the most liquidity in the world, being the U.S., or everywhere else. And yet, you're getting 1.6% on the 10-year here in the U.S., and everybody else is 1% lower or lower than that, meaning you're buying their 10-year at 0.5%, 0.3% minus. And so why is that? So do you think that going forward, the Federal Reserve is going to allow interest rates to go up? My answer is no. Right?
Probably not.
Now, what does that have to do with inflation? Everybody's talked about how the reason rates are going up is because inflation is in the air. Inflation is here and it's coming. And I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with the fact that inflation is here. And we've talked about partly why. Right?
I've talked with Jerry on it.
Exactly.
You can see it.
Exactly. You can see it. You can see it in oil prices. You can see it in food prices. You can see it in a lot of, like you talked about lumber. The construction building went through the roof last year because interest rates dropped. So everybody wanted to buy a home. So obviously that went through the roof.
Sometimes the first people to see it is, the average person out there going to the store. We had a couple calls this past week of just relatives with tat saying, why is my tat in the little tin? My cat food has gone up. Is there something up with aluminum? And sure enough, aluminum prices
went through the roof. Exactly. So, and my point has been that through this growth, it's been more of a supply issue than a demand issue. I'm not saying demand's not there, right? But it's the fact that since we're not generating 100% capacity on this economy, the supply is not there. So the supply is causing the inflation right now. Is the economy going to come back in the second half of 2021 or 2022? One, I hope so. Right? I mean,
Absolutely.
that's the goal. That's what we want to happen. That's what should happen. Under the assumption it does happen, are we going to see a big uptick in inflation? I'm not 100% sure, because if the supply chain then begins to fill the demand chain, then prices should settle down. The one area that concerns me when we talk about inflation to a certain respect is taxes, right? There's talk about capital gain tax. There's talk about corporate tax, right? Raising corporate tax. There's talk about, increasing the tax rate, obviously, on people that earn more than $400,000 a year. All that, to a certain respect, is inflationary. And why? You look back in history, and just to give you an idea, like back in the 60s and 70s, the top tax rate was 70%. You look at the returns on the markets, it was, 4%, 7%. Right? And back then, if I'm not mistaken, I think corporate tax rates was up in the 50s, right?
Interesting.
The minute you begin to lower that, the stock market takes off. So why is that?
Which makes sense. It's all passing down. A corporation,
Exactly.
Because really, a corporation is a shell. I mean, we sometimes think of it as its own being in the sense of Coca-Cola or a Pepsi-Cola, right? But it's really a shell. Everything that goes through that corporation is passed on to the shareholders, either in the form of capital gains, the price of the stock went up, or in the form of dividends. They just literally paid you cash to do it, right? And so when you have a corporate tax, what it's really just doing is it's before that money flows down to the shareholders, the government says, let me take a piece of that, and then what's left goes on to the shareholders, at which point you have to just keep in mind the government takes a piece there too. It's not like you're exempted from capital gains tax or dividend income tax because there was a corporate tax. So you do, no matter, even when it arrives to you as someone who owns stock or who owns a mutual fund or has a 401k, even when it arrives to you, you've got certain taxes that have gone in place there, especially if you are not in a tax advantaged account, which I think we'll probably end up talking about at some point today. But just to have an idea, that's what a corporation is. It's basically a shell.
And in addition, I mean, you and I know that if you impose a tax on corporations, they're not the ones that are going to swallow that cost, right? They pass it down to the consumer, right? So here we are. We're thinking, okay, yeah, let's tax the corporations. I have no issue because it's not going. That hand is not going into my pocket. It's going to somebody else's pocket. Well, guess what? It's going in your pocket because you say it's not going in my pocket. I'm just going to raise prices on everything. That's all. That's how they settle the problem, right? So in essence, every time they raise prices on corporate,
you have to be prepared.
You have to be prepared because it means you're going to be paying more, right? So the other one, capital gains taxes. We think about it. Okay, capital gains tax. Who cares, right? Well, it's a big deal, especially if you have investments. And those investments are not in accounts that are, tax-free or growing retirement accounts. That means every time you sell something at a gain, you got to pay more taxes. Second of all, think about if the government today, and I'll get back to something that happened in the past too. But think about if the government today says we're going to raise capital gain taxes from the 15% to 25%, right, next year. What do you think is going to happen? Every time Dick and Harry's going to sell their stock this year, right? Because they said, I'm not paying 25% next year. I'm paying 15% this year, right? What does that do to the stock market? All right? And you can't just sell the stock, take your gains, and then buy back.
No, there's rules against that.
Wait,
you have to wait.
So you're at risk, or you buy something else, so you can do that. But so all this has an impact on returns. All this has an impact on how people perceive or people recognize that they have money to spend. There's that discretionary versus non-discretionary, right? Meaning that I have to buy gasoline for my car because I have to get to work. I got to buy bread. I got to put food on the table. So all those costs I have to pay. If prices go up, I need to buy those items. What I don't need to buy is things that I don't need. Or, yes, do I need to go to the movies? No. I mean, I can't go to movies these days, but if you want to go to the movies, I want to go to a ball game. I want to go to a show. I want to go to a restaurant. I like to go on vacation.
Versus needs.
Exactly. Those are things that if you don't have the excess cash, you can't do, right? And that is the part of life that one truly enjoys the most to a certain respect. So the taxes are what worries me the most over everything else, because I think inflation, although it is here, we have to look at it from the perspective that we went, especially oil prices went down to negative in March of last year, and they're at 60 now. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge jump,
Huge increase.
right? So, of course, you're going to see prices go up because of that. We also had an economy that was completely shut down. So the supply chain was not as smooth as it usually is. So that causes issues, right? That causes prices in some areas to go up. So without any doubt, we've seen the inflation. The question is that inflation going to continue on forward at the same pace that we've seen over the last year? And that's going to be the question, right? But tax is something that stays there for a very long period of time. They raise your taxes, and before you know it, the money you have to spend is much less. And
it definitely affects, no matter how much it may be needed, it definitely affects, right, how people behave, your spending pattern and your saving pattern. It certainly affects how much you can save and how much that grows.
Exactly. And so, you know, it's an area that I think is much more important to look at than even, you know, inflation per se, you know, without any doubt. We've talked about this last time where there's a cyclical inflation going on because there's the expectation also that the economy is going to open up. That sector of the stock market is doing much better than the sector that did well last year and the year before that. I mean, you look at growth the last 2 years. I mean, 1 year, I think last year was like 30+%. The year before that was 30+%. That's 60% in 2 years. That's just not going to go on forever.
Nothing goes up forever.
Right? So there's been a shift, and that shift is into, you know, stocks that do well when the economy begins to turn around, and also stocks that do well when interest rates are a little higher, right? So you have to be cognizant of that, right? But the important thing is, well, how do I save? You know,
so how do people react? So I mean, we've told them obviously, you know, you have to think about this. You know, good or bad, you have to be aware of how you intend to react and how your savings will be affected by potentially increased tax rates. So how does the average person, if you're sitting there saying, well, hey, what action steps does Xavier have for me? What's my game plan? What's my game plan?
What does Xavier say I should do?
To not have my savings dragged down by potential taxes?
Yeah. Well, the question, you know, and I always go back to this. We're all in different boats. We're all in different positions in life. But I think more and more people have to recognize that there are opportunities out there in certain types of investment accounts that do two things. One is sometimes they can save you on taxes today, and two, they can also save you on taxes going forward. In particular for small companies, and the reason I bring this up is because the small company, the small entrepreneur is the one that really got hammered the most in this pandemic, right? Because the government said you need to shut down. They didn't go to Costco and say you need to shut down. Then they go to Lowe's, and you know those were companies that, well, you know, people need to buy food, they need to buy items, therefore you need to go to these stores. Well, the mom and pop store that sells food, why did they have to be shut down, right? That was the question, right? And so they're the ones that got hurt. And when you look at the statistics, or some firms have done statistics, a lot of small companies, smaller companies, that were thinking about possibly retiring in the next 5-10 years have to postpone that for another 5 or 10 years beyond that because they've got hurt so much in this economy.
And they were relying probably on the growth of the company to pay
income,
for their retirement.
So the question is, well, why did that happen? And I think more and more people are beginning to wake up. And there was another statistic that said that millenniums and was it Gen Z? Gen Z, about 40 or 30% say that they've changed their thinking about tomorrow because of what happened last year.
Interesting.
And you say, so, well, you know, what is it that they thought about? What's the change? And in all these cases, what they changed about is that they didn't think about tomorrow enough. They didn't think about mañana enough, right? To do something today. And what can we do today? And the most important thing that you can do today is think about putting some money away for tomorrow, for mañana, for your retirement, and put it away in accounts that save you on taxes today
or potentially in the future.
And grow tax-free, meaning that if you buy Tesla at 100 and it goes to 1,000 and you sell it, you don't have to pay tax capital gains tax, right? That's the beauty. If you earn 5-6% interest on some type of investment, at the end of the year, the government say, "Oh, gee, thank you, Xavier. You earned 5%. I'll take some of that back."
I'll take
right?
some of that.
Which I always wonder, why is that they tax me on my income, then I invest, and then they tax me on what I invest in? I just don't understand that, right? I mean, but
the double there.
the point is,
but the key there is that it over the long term it can affect you if you're not an attached free account. Because I mean, if you think about it, you start with $100, you gain, let's say you gain another 100, and the government takes 15. Well, now the next year you're investing 85. And so if that 85 grows, excellent. Government takes another 15. The 85 grows.
It's a drag.
It's a drag because that piece that is being taken out each year is no longer growing. So ideally what you would want to happen is that you grow tax-free. And yeah, if you have to pay taxes on it at the end when you pull it out of your retirement account, that's fine. What you don't want to happen is that the growth is hampered by being taxed on it every single year or every time you sell something in this account. And that's what really is the beauty of things like your retirement accounts. That's why people always, companies have their 401ks. What grows in a 401k, you pay the taxes at the end when you pull that out. You don't have to worry that my savings their growth is slowed down by the fact that something is being removed every year.
That's right.
Right, and that's the real burden of taxation if you're not saving in the right type of account, if you're not going into that retirement account, that IRA, that 401k.
And as we mentioned before, to depend on your company when you're ready to retire, meaning your own company, and say, okay, I'll sell this company when I'm ready to retire, and that's my retirement.
It's the easier said than done.
Yeah, it's a lot easier said than done. And wouldn't it have been nicer to say, yes, I'm going to put a little bit away every single year. And when it comes to retirement, I don't have the pressure. I can sell whenever I want, but I can also retire whenever I want. And, in one sense, the government has provided lots of different types of vehicles for small companies. And, you're good at this. You know them probably better than I do.
There's so many types. And really, I think it comes down to, in some ways, really expanding your horizon to what you think of as an investment. And I think a lot of times, we talked about diversification all the time, right? That you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, right? And so I think what oftentimes we forget is that we're part of that basket. In other words, for a lot of people, your greatest single investment is yourself.
Exactly.
If you're an entrepreneur, your greatest single investment, your biggest holding is your company. That's where a lot of your investment is. So the question is, do I want to be 100% in that? As much as we have confidence in ourselves, confidence in our companies as entrepreneurs, right? As a small business owner, you have confidence that you're doing a good job, that your company's excellent. But you also know that there are things beyond your control, like a pandemic, right? That could affect
the black
your company.
swans.
The black swans, right? We call it black swan because no one knows what the next one's going to look like. In fact, I can probably guarantee you that the next one won't be a pandemic because we're all thinking about it now.
Right. Yes.
We're all like, okay, we're going to be ready for the next pandemic. It probably won't be that. It'll be something else that we're not thinking of right now. And so the question is, do you want to be 100% in one asset, even if that asset is your company? Or do you want to be diversified? Do you want to say, yes, I recognize that my company is an investment. I recognize that my house that I live in is an investment. I recognize that my job is an investment. And if you think about it, let's say you worked for Coca-Cola. Would you really want to work for Coca-Cola and then say, I'm going to invest 100% of my savings in Coca-Cola? You're exposed. If Coca-Cola doesn't do well, you lose your job and your life savings, right? And so it works the same way with the small business.
Just think that happened. Think about Bear Stearns. Think about Lehman Brothers.
That happened for a lot of people.
That's right. They basically would give them their bonuses in the stock of the company. And instead of saying at the end of 3 years, let me sell this, it looked great on paper. It's like, it's growing like crazy. But you're working at Lehman or Bear Stearns. Your bonus is in Lehman or Bear Stearns stock. And when it went bankrupt, guess what? You lost your job and you lost your pension.
You lost your savings.
And you also lost your pension because that pension, granted there's the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corp that takes over that pension, but you're not going to get paid
the same amount.
100 cents on the dollar. You're going to get paid 40, 50, 60, whatever it is.
Exactly.
So you're right. You have to diversify.
So even and it comes when you're a small business owner, it works the same way. You don't want to be 100% in your company. Your job is tied up there.
Yes.
Right. So the real question is, how do I get? Because we all know how much you put in as an entrepreneur, as someone who's in a small business. You know how much effort and money you put into making that work. So the question is, how can I diversify a little bit out of that? So I now have my single greatest investment will still be my company, right? But how do I have a piece, 10%, 20%, 30% of my retirement, of my savings, of what I want to live off in the future to enjoy my life in retirement? How do I put some of that in a different type of investment? How do I put it around into other parts of the U.S. economy, other parts of the world economy, right? And the way you do that is through the retirement savings plan, because you don't want to do it by just taking out the money and buying stocks, because then the government comes and says, I'll take a piece of your growth.
Exactly.
So what you want to be able to do is use the vehicles that the government has provided. I mean, the government, I think in some ways the IRS recognized this. That's why there are Roth IRAs, 401ks. That's why there's simple plans for small businesses.
And those are important. For small businesses, if you're a small business, a lot of times people go to a company and the company already has a 401k.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, that's a wonderful vehicle for people to say, yes, I'm going to invest in this 401k plan, right? And sometimes the company even matches, which is even better, right? But if you're on your own business, you have to decide what you want, right? Now, the simple one is always, yes, you can open up a traditional IRA.
When we say simple plan, just to kind of make that clear, it is simple, but we don't literally mean like the word simple. We mean it's an acronym for a simplified incentive match program, but the acronym is simple, SIMPLE,
exactly.
IRA.
Exactly.
And it is, the reason it has that acronym is because it's simpler than a 401k.
There's options.
To do.
There's it's just a normal Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, so meaning that you don't even have to open up anything with the company. You can just open this up separately. Do it for yourself. Then there's other plans like the simple IRA
and the SEP IRA. And they're really there for a small business to really, it's a little more complicated than doing it for yourself, but you can save a little more. You approach what someone can do in a 401k.
That's
right? And the reason those types of plans exist, the reason we throw all these acronyms at you in the middle of a Today Mañana show is just because the IRS and the government recognize, you have to be able to save without having your savings cut away every year.
Right.
And and eventually the government gets its money. Don't get us wrong.
The
government either takes it at the beginning.
They get it over a longer period of time in the future also.
Exactly. So really the goal is just how can I grow at a steady pace without having my growth diminished. And that's what the secret of the retirement planning is. That's why companies, and what's sad is that a lot of times small business owners won't know about these, won't take advantage of them, whereas employees of larger companies do because they're already there. The company has already set it up with their big 401k plan and will encourage employees of that to take those matches, to invest in that. But sometimes as an entrepreneur, you're so busy making your company work that you don't take the time to sort of sit down and say, okay, what do I have? What other baskets can I put my eggs in so that I'm not, not that I'm not 100% invested in my company, so that 100% of my life savings aren't in my company. That there are other parts that are connected to other aspects of the U.S. economy. So, all of our companies are in different fields. If you're in restaurant, you're in leisure and hospitality, you may want to be invested in some way in areas other than leisure and hospitality. Right? You may want to have some defense. You may want to have some energy. You may want to have some clean energy. You might want to have some biotech. You don't want to be in other areas that your restaurant isn't necessarily a part of. Same thing with us in financial services. We're in financial services, but we don't want to be 100% invested in banks, securities companies, insurance companies, financial companies. We want to have some of our life savings in restaurants, in leisure and hospitality, in hotels, in other areas.
And in
addition
of the economy. To that, it creates, when you begin to invest in these accounts, it really creates also a downside protection. So in other words, if you did go through a pandemic like that, it doesn't mean you can't tap into those funds if you really have to. If you sit there and you say, well, yes, I got PPP, but it didn't help me enough, and now I have to close my company, well, maybe there was an opportunity for you to tap into those accounts and say, I can survive. I can certainly sit here and say, I have enough savings that it will pull me for a year or two, and then when I get on my feet again, I can start putting money back in there, right? And the difference in the accounts are interesting because, for example, I mean, for most people under, I think it's 50 years old, they can put $6,000 into an IRA, right? Mm-hmm. But into a simple plan, I believe it's like, what is it, 13,000?
13,000, yep.
And in a SEP, I guess it's...
There's a formula,
that's
but
a
you
formula.
can do a little more.
Right. So the beauty about the plans is that you're not, you're just not, you just don't have a specific minimum. Mm-hmm. You can really take a look and say, how much do I want to put away? How much can I put away? And if in 1 year you're doing extremely well, you can certainly put mm-hmm. away a lot more, and then maybe the following year you don't have to put as much. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the beauty of some of these other plans is that you can really structure your retirement account to the kind of year you had. If you had a great mm-hmm. year, you can say, well, this is a great year for me to put a lot more away, mm-hmm. right? And then the next year, if it's not as good, you don't have to put as much away.
It's that flexibility that I think small business owners and entrepreneurs really value, right? The ability to be flexible with your retirement, to be flexible with how you run your company, to be flexible in hiring, to be flexible in what you offer, right? The ability to constantly change things is one of the beauties of entrepreneurship.
Exactly.
And to just constantly be innovating and thinking of new ways to run your company to serve the people that you're serving, your customers, in the end, serve your clients.
And you've mentioned this a few times, and I know Jerry talks about it all the time also. It's, the entrepreneur is not just, it's just one thing he has to worry about mm-hmm. or think about, right? Which is, yes, I mean, you love doing something and you want to do it, mm-hmm. but there's a whole number of other items that you have to take care of, right? And this is one of them, but this is one where you can simplify to a certain respect, right? Once you create that account, then you don't have to worry about it. You just, at the end of the year or during the quarter or weekly or whenever you want, right? A little bit can flow in there.
Exactly.
Do it automatically. Just like 401ks. You go work for a company, you got 401k.
It's coming out automatically.
It's coming in your paycheck. You don't even think about it. And that's the beauty. Once you say, okay, I'm going to put 5%, 10%, 3%, whatever that number may be out of my paycheck, it happens automatic. You don't even think about it. Not only do you not think about it, you plan your budget based on what you're making, what you're bringing home, forgetting about the fact that some of it is going to a retirement account, and you're not saying, gee, I get the whole paycheck, and now I got to think about putting that mm-hmm. money away. That just
By the
doesn't
time
happen.
You get the paycheck,
exactly. If it's done automatically, you now adjust your life to say, okay, I have X amount of money that's coming in after taxes, mm-hmm. after the retirement plan, and now I have to live with this. How do I budget this? And you do that, and people do that, and that's how it works. And then, 5 years, 10 years down the line, you take a look at it. Wow. I
actually have a significant amount of savings that I can think about and rely on either in tough times, like last year, or hopefully in retirement. This way you don't have to touch it before then.
Yeah. I mean, it's impressive how many times we have, clients that come in and they do a retirement plan, a financial mm-hmm. plan, and, they bring you their 401k, they don't think about it, and you said, you guys done a great job.
Yep.
Because that piece that you've saved, right, is now going to take you there for the rest of your life.
And just the comfort when they're able to look at the retirement plan that we create for them and say, oh my goodness, I'm good.
Exactly.
I feel good that I'm not going to run out of money in retirement. I can actually go and enjoy
even at crazy inflation rates.
Even at crazy inflation rates, I get to enjoy my retirement. I'm protected, on different levels, between a combination of things. So it's a beautiful thing.
It is.
That's why That's why we love talking
about it. Not taxes. Taxes is an ugly thing. Well, it's semi-ugly.
Somehow. It's only when you see it come out of your paycheck, and then you
there's some things we need. I mean,
you feel a little better when you
want the government to do
protected.
some things for us, but, it just feels sometimes their hand in the pocket seems to come in a little too often.
Nobody likes a hand in your pocket. You're grateful for the services, and then
that's right.
And so then when the guy says, "All right, time to pay up,"
exactly.
Said, it's too much. It's too much. Oh my goodness, that was fun.
That was good.
Now we're going to have another fun segment here. We're going to switch. We're still going to be somewhat on finance. We're going to switch
That's
a little
right.
from
That's right. We've
from
talked about how
savings, and
important insurance is in
we've
one's
talked about
life,
insurance
and
before.
car insurance, life insurance, homeowners insurance, annuities, business insurance.
Just all the things you have to think about to protect yourself in addition to that growth. We've talked about the growth now. There's always, of course, that side of protecting
Exactly
what you have and what you love. And so we're really excited for this.
We have an expert.
Yes, we do. We're really excited for this interview. We have with us Stephanie Colon. She is the customer service representative for Christel Noel State Farm Agency. And so we're so happy to have you join us here. Thanks for coming, Stephanie.
Thanks for having me.
So Stephanie, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your experience. I know you're at Christel's agency. Let our audience know a little bit about you. How did you come into this line of business?
Sure. So I have been working with Christel for a little while now, but we actually know each other before she was an agent. We worked at the same agency here in Charlottesville. So we know each other from there. It's really awesome to see the growth in the whole thing that Christel has been doing throughout the years, and now that she has her own agency. And so I'm on her team now, and we're just here continuing to grow the agency and help our customers in the community. And so that's where we are right now.
So do you work mostly here in Charlottesville, or do you also have some other areas that you focus on?
I am based here in Charlottesville.
Okay.
Thankfully, I'm given the opportunity through State Farm and the agency to work from home. So as of right now, I'm working from home for the agency in Charlottesville local.
That's awesome. So, it definitely seems, because I know Christel's agency it's in Richmond, it's in Henrico County, it's here in Charlottesville. So it's amazing that there's different areas you can be in and opportunities to work from home. Christel was telling us about, in the pandemic, ways that things have changed and people can do that. So what other opportunities do you feel like there are at Christel's agency, or just for working in this field?
I would say that there is room for a lot of opportunities. I go back to the working from home because we got hit in the last year. We've been in this huge unknown of
Absolutely.
What is COVID. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to work at home. The agency is located in Henrico area, and where some of the team members are going to the office as well. So we're able to serve our customers at the office, serve our customers working from home in the fields of sales, customer service, and just helping them with protecting them, essentially.
Absolutely. It sounds
I'm
very
curious.
exciting.
I'm just curious. So what would you say is the number one product that an insurance company, well, at least in your case, State
Christel's
Farm,
agency.
sells? Is it auto insurance?
What do you help most
I always
people
wonder
with, would you
because
say?
the minute you turn 18, I don't know how old you have to be anymore to drive a car around here. Back in the old days, 16 you could drive a car, right? But anyway. 18 is like, I want to drive a car.
Yeah, you were a danger on the road already.
That's right. So you need insurance, right? You get your little jalopy there, and you need some insurance for it. So what would you say is the number one selling insurance?
I can tell you my opinion of it, since I'm still a little new with this. I think that Christel would know best. But what I would say is your point about turning 18. Obviously, when we think about insurance, the automatic thing we think about is auto insurance, right? Mm-hmm. And so obviously auto is a big thing. And then homeowners is a little down the road after you turn 18. But we have the renter's insurance, which is a great insurance and protection for your home.
True.
That actually a lot of apartment complexes right now and landlords are requiring this. And so that's a good point that people don't really know, or they're like, oh, no, I don't think I really need that insurance, but it's actually becoming a requirement, and it protects so very well your home and your apartment until you get to the point of home insurance. My opinion would be the life insurance. It's something that you don't really think about too much, but it is so important and essential. I thought that I had to get life insurance when I was like 50 or later on, but no, I'm a mother, I have 2 children, and so I got myself life insurance, I got them life insurance. You don't have to opt out for getting life insurance through State Farm just because you get it through your company, because as we know, things change.
Exactly.
And the opportunity to continue to have that policy through State Farm is very important. And, you're leaving your family with the relief of when you're no longer here, they're not having to worry about that. So I would say life insurance is right now one of the big things that we're
So basically, I would say that once you get married and have children, life insurance definitely becomes a major decision.
Part.
For at least one of
them.
the
Well, we see it when we do financial plans, right? Just the sort of the peace of mind that when someone has the life insurance, when we run the part of the financial plan where it says, what happens if, God forbid, one spouse dies in the plan? Because usually,
what we say is the other one survives.
Yeah, we always use the phrase, somebody is the sole survivor, rather than, Mr. Smith died.
That's right.
It's always, Mrs. Smith was a sole survivor.
That's right.
And when we run it, there's the peace of mind to know that if, God forbid, something happens, we can say, well, actually, his life insurance kicked in and you're set. You're good.
Yeah,
you don't
it's
have
amazing.
to worry.
It's amazing how well it does work. Yeah, it does work, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even if I was a young adult, unmarried, I would still get life insurance because it's such a great benefit to have. And it's just that, like my mentality about it was like, oh no, I won't need that until later on. But you never know. And I go back to this past year has been such a big unknown hit for us. And so I would definitely recommend that.
So let me take a step back, and I'm going to play a little devil's advocate with you, because so let's say you have a 30-year-old, and so he's living in an apartment, he's not married, has a girlfriend, right? But marriage is still 5 years, 6 years down the line, who knows, right? Why would he really need life insurance? Why does that person need life insurance? How does that benefit him?
Sure. There's things to take into account in that story. But, first of all, I would say as far as the beneficiaries, you can put whoever for your beneficiary. It could be your brother, your mother.
Father.
Yeah. You can put whoever for your you can change it as well, but however, think about who you want to put as your beneficiary. And so in that case, if maybe marriage is along the year and he doesn't really want to put his significant other in the moment, he could change that in the future. If he, let's say, like myself, I am here in Charlottesville, but my family lives in Florida, Puerto Rico. I don't really have, besides my children, any immediate family here. And so if that was, let's say, the case of this gentleman, I would totally get life insurance just because my life is here. My family would have to come and see what they would have to do once I'm gone. If they see that I have a life insurance policy in place, again, it would relieve them from that stress or that pressure or anything to come in and fly in. And so I don't know the details about that scenario.
Right, no, I just...
It's to cover...
So basically what you're saying, it also covers the cost of, God forbid, that person does pass away, and they're far away, and so it helps, helps the family not having to deal not only with the grief, but with the financial burden of,
Exactly.
do I bring them back to where I live, and whatever it may be.
Yeah, they would come back and they would see this policy in place, and it would be a certain amount, whichever policy you get, to cover the expenses for, God forbid, when that person is no longer here.
Awesome, yeah. We did want to ask you, so I mean...
let's get the happy subject. Who brought up life insurance?
I don't know. Well, you went down we went down the sole survivor road. But so, I mean, what's been your experiences? I mean, you're a Latina professional. Cristella's a Latina professional. I know you even have that, we've seen it on Facebook and shared it, that like power picture that Cristela has with, I think, five Latinas that are working in your office. What's been your experience as a Latina in the professional services, and do you have any advice for maybe other Latinos or Latinas that are thinking of entering that sphere?
Sure. So so you saw our picture. We look like, there was a comment that we look like the business Spice Girls. That is our team right now. We love our team. We have Miri and Juanita, Emily, of course, Crystal, and myself. We thrive on what it is with customer service. Customer service is our main goal at the office. We really want to help our clients above and beyond. I think that we work well together, and it goes in part of my, learning and being a Latina professional, because the team that we work with, we each have our individual, our personal, professional goals, but we come together because we love to help people. We know what it is to be in a position where they just give you, it's black and white and that's it. In our agency, what we love to do, like I said, is go a little bit extra mile, because we're understanding, like the Hispanic Latino community, they don't know much when they come to this country, if anything.
Right.
So they really have to learn. So
it's a learning curve.
Yeah,
right.
Especially an industry like insurance, which it's so complex.
Exactly.
It's very complex, and so we don't want to give them just a straight answer with something. We want to help them understand, and that's where our love goes, with trying to help them. And so professionally, we're a great team. We're all Latinas. We're all women right now at the agency.
You mean no men whatsoever?
No, as of
What
right now.
happened to diversity? I don't get it.
Hey, we don't know. We'll see, though. We have an open position, and so we'll see what happens. But as of right now, that's what it is. So we're open to diversity.
That's awesome.
And so my experience, I would say, is with being here in the community, being with Crystal in the agency, I've learned a lot. I'm very hands-on. And so it's just a great opportunity, because there's various tools. Crystal is a great mentor. She really wants to help you. She pushes you. She pushes your limits, because she wants to see you succeed. And when you see somebody that doesn't just talk about it, but you can see that the actions have shown that she has been successful, that really motivates you.
Right.
And so professionally, personally, I know that that is what it is for me, and I could say that for the team as well. Yeah, as of right
So really
now.
that connection, I guess, really, and I think that's a great advice for even any professional, right? Number one, like, your client is you want to serve them. You have to have actually a passion and love for serving them. And then really just make sure that when you're working with a team, that you're inspiring them, that you're encouraging them, helping them grow.
Well, yeah, I mean, as we know, Christelle, I mean, she, we heard her story here, and for somebody to have that passion and to see that growth, and you work with a person like that, you know that she's going to essentially impose that on you. Maybe not impose, but I mean, you're just going to feel that.
Yeah, share it with you.
Share it with you. You're going to feel that sense of, wow, look how much passion she has for what she does. And she's going to push you. And let's face it, it's all sales. In the end, it's you have to go out and sell, and then later when they come in, then that's when you can become their partner, understand what their needs are, explaining things.
Well, at first you need to be able to convey value. You need to be able to show a person that you've just met.
You got to get out of your box. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a comfort box, so sometimes you have to push out of.
To do that, it's all about that growth. So Stephanie, I mean, I'm going to borrow a line from Jerry and say the floor is yours. What news is there out of Christelle's agency that you'd want to share with us?
Sure. So we are excited because we are a growing agency. As of right now, we do have an open position at the agency, which is a sales position, which is a wonderful opportunity for growth. Crystal's been in this for 10 years, so she will mentor you in the best of the field. We have a great structure is based on commissions, and so if you guys are interested in this, give us a call at the office, contact Christelle, we'll set up a time, and we'll take it from there.
I have to send them my card.
Yeah.
You should apply.
I'll see if they take any Latino men. That's what I want to see.
Yes.
You're going to add diversity in the form of a 65-year-old.
65-year-old, that's right.
We're going to steal you.
Just what Christelle's looking for. Oh, my Lord. Look what's
what'll
coming.
have the average age of the people working in the agency will double once you go in.
Where's the math on that? Where's the math on that? I want to know.
I don't know.
Anyway, maybe, now, you speak Spanish, right?
Sí, claro que
So,
sí.
quizás puede decir algo en español sobre, igualmente,
Sobre la oportunidad o los consejos.
Sí, bueno, yo soy nuevamente Stephanie de la agencia de Cristel Noel. Estamos basados en Henrico, Virginia. Actualmente tenemos una posición abierta que es sobre vender sobre sales. Esta oportunidad es muy buena. Tenemos a Cristel Noel, la gente que te puede ser tu mentor, te puede guiar e instruir en esta posición. Es basado en comisiones también, la estructura que tenemos a pesar. Entonces, si tienes ese deseo de ayudar a la gente, de estar trabajando con aseguranza y con State Farm, por favor, contáctanos a la oficina y podemos tomar un tiempo para que usted hable con Cristel y desde ahí chequear a ver lo que pasa con
Perfecto.
usted. Y estamos tratando de ayudar nuestra comunidad, no solamente la comunidad latina, sino somos bilingües en la oficina. Entendemos lo que es ayudar a nuestro hermano en la comunidad. Vamos un paso más allá en lo que es entender y explicar exactamente las reglas, la seguridad en detalles. No solamente somos de carro, de auto, de hogar, casa, apartamento, también seguros de vidas, de su negocio, workers' comp, general liability, bank health. Entonces, llámanos. Estamos aquí para servirles.
Muy bien dicho.
Muy bien, sí, sí.
Muy bien dicho. Yo no hubiese podido decir
Sí,
todo eso.
¿No?
Primeramente, no sé suficiente de seguro, pero segundo, habla muy bien, perfecto.
Perfecto.
Gracias, porque soy de Puerto Rico, entonces ya sabes.
Puertorriqueña, cubano, puertorriqueña, más o menos igual.
Estamos en la misma área del
Sí.
mar.
Claro que sí. Stephanie, ha sido un gran placer.
Gracias.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you for having
Thank you
me.
for coming, and
Yes,
good luck
sir.
with your career here in
Absolutely.
Charlesville
Thank you.
and State Farm, and certainly, hopefully, you get somebody new there in the team.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
And then we'll have you and them on
There you are.
together. We can say,
The whole team here.
Yeah, we'll have the whole
the
team
whole
here.
team. We'll have to get. We'll tell Jerry we need.
We need
what do
more we need more
four
chairs.
three more chairs.
Chairs.
And we can have the entire.
do it. He
we
can
can
do
have
it.
what did John taught the
Spice
professional
Girls.
spice
Yeah.
team
There you are.
here on
I
Island.
was like, which is which? I'm like, posh, spice, whatever. I'm the which one? I'm posh. I'll be posh. I like that.
Fantastic.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for
Appreciate
coming,
Thank you.
Stephanie.
Thank you
A
for coming.
pleasure. Yeah, and as always, thanks to Christel's Noel State Farm Agency for sponsoring, for being the great power sponsor of our program here on today. Here on Today Mañana.
She has a great team. She has a great
She
team,
does.
as we can see, right? And she has her tentacles in quite a few number of places, which is great.
Yeah,
You know, she's-
she has the passion and the drive to be serving people in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
I have to say before we go into the closing of this show that your sons.
My sons?
Yeah, it's
You
amazing
mean
that
your
you
brothers?
have / my brothers, that you've got Nicholas Earp. You know how I said you would double the
Yeah.
the
What do you
age
say,
of the
triple?
agency? He does triple.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew it. Yeah, wait till, there goes his bonus for this year, I'll tell you that much.
I know.
It's going to be triple down.
He's not going to be happy when you get back to the office. Oh, we have a comment for Stephanie just saying Rosalia de Rosalia Tordado says beautiful woman and full of charm and full of energy for working and love her job. Good luck. So already
We should ask Rosalia if she has life insurance, right? I mean,
Rosalia, do you have life insurance? But obviously already just shows you Stephanie was on in the show today, and already people are just impressed by the
Absolutely.
energy
Yeah.
and just the passion that they have there. And that's really what you need in entrepreneurship. That's what we
you
love
need
to
that,
share.
and as she said, it's not just about the product, right? But it's being able to help people try to navigate through the insurance products and what's best for
Yep.
you. It's not just here's life insurance, take it, but what do you need, and what's the best option for you, and the
Absolutely.
rental insurance. I mean, that's something most people probably
I
don't
didn't
think
even-
about.
yeah,
But
I
I
hadn't
bet
even
you,
thought
if you
about
start
it.
going through what it protects, you might say, well, that helps, because then the next time you go on vacation, if we ever can go on vacation again, right? And you leave your apartment and you come back, you don't have to worry about it. Uh-oh,
Oh, my goodness.
somebody took
What
my
happened?
laptop or whatever it is they'd want to take. So that's good.
No, just the combination, and it really all comes together
It does.
in terms of your holistic financial life. Because we spend a lot of time talking about growth here and savings and retirement, right? But in reality, when we do financial plan for people, we're looking at everything. We're seeing all the elements of their life financially come together, and that's retirement accounts. It's their job, it's their insurance. It's what are those parts that you sort of you want to be protected against something bad happening, basically.
Exactly.
And it's amazing just for me how much it's peace of mind rather than like the actual dollar amount. Just, I mean, when we run a financial plan, a lot of times we may never, they may never get to the point where they're sitting there saying, oh, does my life, did I need the auto insurance? Did it kick in? By the time you get the life insurance, you're done. Right, you're not. It's not like you're sitting there saying, "No, look."
What I tell people is like, you buy a house, you have homeowners insurance. It's the one insurance you never want to use.
You never want to use it.
You never want to use it because something went wrong. Your house burnt down, or you had a leak somewhere, whatever it may be.
It just gives you the peace of mind.
You never want to use it, but it gives you the peace of mind if it does happen. That's right.
And that's what it's all about. In reality, that's what we all want out of retirement, right? We want to be able to go into retirement, A, that if something goes wrong, I'm protected, and B, that if I live to be 100 years old, I still have money to enjoy my life. I'm not saying, oh no, I'm 100. Nobody wants to sit there and say, you want
that wheelchair powered? Is that what it is?
The wheelchair, the powered wheelchair. Or in your case, the place in Miami, on the beach.
You can't say that online. You can't say that.
Why can't you say that?
Because I'm sure my wife is listening. Come on, your mom's listening. If I
say
tell
no
her where I'm
place in
going,
Miami.
How's that going to work?
Terrible. And then you want to know why your sons, who are loyal to our mother, made fun of you all the time on the show. Oh my goodness! So this has been a blast. Today was fun.
It has.
Today was fun just talking with you guys. And as always, if you have comments, share them with us. Let us know what you think. Definitely be sure to, if you're looking to get into that field, to reach out to Christel's State Farm Agency. And I know this week was fun, but we also have a really exciting show planned for next week.
That's right.
We're going to have, so first we have Carolina Medina, and so she is
Carolina.
With the Community Investment Collaborative, CIC. They're a great resource. I can't really say this enough. They are a huge resource in the community for, if you are an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, huge resource. I mean, they have 16-week entrepreneurship classes.
Wow.
They have round tables. I mean, Carolina runs a Spanish-speaking round table for Spanish-speaking business owners. So you're there, you share ideas, you're bouncing ideas off one another, you're learning, have all these different areas you can learn about. You have the experience of all the great staff working at CIC, right? They do micro loans. So if you're ready to take that next step and you're saying, I'm a small business, I'd like to take that next step in growth, to leverage, what I'm earning, leverage my opportunities, but I'm too small for a bank. You have opportunities. They'll help you through. They'll help you decide if it's even the right path for you. It's not like you walk in the doors at CIC and they're like, yeah, here's the loan, here's your interest rate. It's what do you need? What can we help you with? They're connected now. They're the host of SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Center.
That's important.
So now you're talking access to the consultants that they have at SBDC, the Spanish-speaking people that they have there. So really, as a Latino entrepreneur, it's a huge resource. And Catalina's going to tell us a little bit about what they do. She herself is a Latina professional, so she's going to tell us about the experience being there. So it's going to be huge resource and a great, you do not want to miss her interview there.
She's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, and then we were going to have the Sake Brewery from here in Charlottesville, which is going to be also super exciting.
Sake,
so,
you mean like in the sake?
As in sake, like the Japanese rice wine, yes. The thing we have with
I'm
sushi.
coming next week, I'll tell you that much.
You're coming, you cannot miss it. You're obligated.
Carolina and sake, I mean, how can I miss it?
How can you miss it? I mean,
I have to cancel all those appointments.
Yeah, you'll have to cancel your third viewing of Zack Snyder's Justice League to come on the show. You're going to have to miss Superman for one more day.
You mean Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman. Yeah. That's why you watch, is for Wonder Woman. So that's going to be a blast, really, to have two great guests on. I'm going to get to enjoy, just see how that business works. To be honest, I know very little about sake business here, especially here in Charlottesville. I know there's sushi restaurants.
Right.
Definitely enjoy.
Which I love.
I definitely love and enjoy the sushi, but that'll be interesting because we've definitely I've been to the brewery space, I've been to the winery space, but sake is going to be new, so that'll be really exciting to learn about that and to have Carolina on. She's always a great resource, great person to talk to, very fun. So she will be on. So definitely do not miss that. That is going to be really exciting, and you can only find it here on Today Mañana. You don't get this. You don't get this everywhere around. The I Love Seville Network is a special place to get these kind of interviews. Oh, Rosalia Tordaro says, you have to buy in Miami. So now you can go home and tell your wife, Rosalia says, I have to buy in Miami. Thank you so much for watching, Leah. We really appreciate it. And thank you all so much for watching. As we always say, this is the viewership is what makes the show. This is what makes it fun to have you to be able to share this with you all, to be able to share the exciting stories that are happening, the inspiring people that are doing great work in Charlottesville, the opportunities really that there are here throughout Central Virginia, but especially I'd say here in Charlottesville for entrepreneurs of all diversity, of the Latino entrepreneurs, minority entrepreneurs, Cuban entrepreneurs. They even welcome us Cubans here in Charlottesville, which is
not just Miami, but even
not
Charlottesville.
Not just Miami, but
amazing.
Charlottesville.
What a great place.
Us Cubans, they accept the Puerto Ricans because they have a better reputation. But us Cubans, they have to. People have to think twice in Charlottesville.
They got a better reputation. I mean, what does that mean?
That island. A lot happens on that island.
Okay.
Between the rum and the communists, gotta love it. All right, so thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Join us next week. Be sure to share. You can always find us at todaymanana.com. As always, thank you to our powering sponsor, Cristel Noel State Farm Agency. We are always presented by Emergent Financial Services. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Judah, for running our show as always. And you can always find us on the ILFC Will Network every Thursday, 10:15. And until that time, we will see you. Hasta mañana.